Today I'm here with my beautiful friend Jenn King, and I'm going to get Jenn to introduce herself in a moment. But I wanted to give you some context if you are a new listener to the Cosmic Hotline and you haven't had the chance to listen or tune into Jenn before. I actually was shopping in Target one day and I came across this beautiful book called Cosmic Numerology, and instantly I looked at the aesthetic, and I am such an aesthetic driven person because I have Venus, the planet of love and beauty, conjunct my sun. And instantly I was so drawn to Jenn's work. And I think because I tried to dive into numerology in the past and found it quite confusing. But I loved the fact that she was able to intertwine astrology, which is the language that I speak, but then all of these other beautiful pieces of the puzzle as well that really represent holistic health. And I decided to slide up in Jenn's DMs on the gram, and our friendship was born. And all I'm going to share with you about Jenn is that she knows a bit of everything, because not only is she a numerologist, an aromatherapist, and she's a herbalist. So if you're looking for somebody to be able to blend both the physical and the metaphysical, Jenn is your person. So welcome to the Cosmic Hotline. Is it our third time chatting?
It's our third time lucky. Yeah.
Oh,
Even luckier than the first and second time.
yeah, totally. Well, we're in a whole new era now as well. So it's nice to be able to record a bonus episode with you on the Cosmic Numerology of 2024. But before we dive into what we can expect is, yeah, please tell everyone a little bit about you so they understand what brought you to this beautiful place of cosmic numerology.
Yeah. I mean, God, I don't even know how to top your amazing introduction of me. I'm almost blushing. I think I might be blushing. So for me, I mean, I love astrology. I love numerology. I love all the spiritual things. I started really getting into that when I was about 13 years old. I distinctly remember get really like becoming obsessed with all of this kind of energetic, spiritual, esoteric stuff. And I've just been into it ever since. And numbers have always been a thing that I've really felt a special affinity towards numbers and also planets. And, going through and learning over the years kind of more and more about numerology and the energies of numbers. And I guess to me, numbers are an archetypal language. Just like planets are an archetypal language, right? And tarot is an archetypal language. So I like to blend all of this stuff, right? And I came across information over the years that was talking about numbers and their planetary associations. So there's a few different traditions that bring that in with the numerology. And I was just completely in love with that. I really love how one thing can relate to another thing, or one thing can be a reflection or a representation or have an affinity. And so I kind of really started putting out these daily little ditties, my little daily ditties on, the numbers of the day and the planet energy of the day that relates to those numbers, and, kind of just putting some vibes out. I've always loved to write, and it was just always a fun hobby for me. People started coming to me for charts. I started that about 10 years ago professionally. People just organically started coming. I never really wanted to turn it into a business per se. It was just about being able to express in a creative way, but also share the numerology of the day, because I was doing it for myself anyway. And I thought, well, no one else is doing it like this. I may as well. Eventually, that led to me deciding I wanted to do a book. And when I decided I wanted to do a book, I put out the call, I guess, energetically, and it was the right time and I was ready, and I met the right people and they offered to publish me, and it flowed from there. The book became, as you said, like the aesthetic of the book was so important to me, and that was why I wanted to either do it myself or ideally not have to control everything and have a publisher that would create the book in the aesthetic way that I wanted it to look. And I got Thames and Hudson, which is just so lucky to be with them. They're incredible. And my book designer is a friend, and she just completely got where I was going with the imagery and based on my Instagram, and she just made it even more beautiful than I could have even imagined. That was such an incredible thing for me as someone who'd written their whole lives. To actually have a physical book was just a dream come true. And so, yeah, since then, you know, the book's flowing, it's out there, people are buying it, loving it, and that's fantastic. And I do charts for people, and I do my daily kind of week ahead and weekend and year ahead, month ahead stuff, and keep putting it out there. I still love doing it, so I'm going to keep doing it for as long as I love it, basically.
Oh, I love that. Well, it is. I think when you are really working in alignment with like who you are and who you've come here to be, is there, you don't have to operate on a timeline. I'm so big on that. Like,
100%.
yeah, like we put these self-imposed timelines on, I have to achieve this goal by this, or, you know, I can't be just content right now because there always has to be something that comes after that. And I think that was the greatest gift that astrology gave me, is that when people are like, oh, what's coming next? And sure, I always pick a theme that I'll immerse myself in the year for, but really, it's just about mastering what I already do. And I just feel like you reflected that straight back to me with what you do. It's about deepening your practice, deepening your work. And I think there's just such a beauty in that.
So true. And, you know, for me, it has to be fulfilling. Like, I don't love the idea of, you know, learning something and doing something purely to monetize it. There has to be an enjoyment there and a gift there for just the simple act of expressing something that you feel really drawn to expressing, whether you're an artist or you're an astrologer or you're a writer or whatever you are. Just to be able to focus on putting your effort and energy into it without necessarily trying to force it to go somewhere. I think that's what my numerology career, I suppose you could say, has taught me, is that it's happened really organically. And that's really the only way I would want to do it. And I think there's been a few conversations that I've had with a couple of people. I won't go too far into it because I could talk about it forever, but where we've been talking about just doing a thing that you love for the pleasure of doing it, and making a living out of it is like a happy accident. But you don't have to be putting yourself into a vice and squeezing yourself to make something happen out of it. If something happens out of it and you end up making money out of it, great. But like, you could also work a job and do what you love on the side. There's so much pressure on people who have skills that they want to share to make that into a money-making thing, right? But that can really take the beauty out of it for you as well. And as soon as you've got other expectations involved, it's really easy for that to then morph and change how you do what you do. So that's why when I started the thing, I was like, I'm always going to do these daily things. I'm never going to charge for that. If people want an expanded version, they can pay for it, sure. But like, the joy has to be there. And money flows, and that's great. But even if it didn't, I'd still be doing it. I'm just passionate about doing it, and I love doing it. That's what I mean when I say, like, I'm doing it as long as I love it. And if I don't love it, I'll stop doing it.
Yeah. Isn't that what life is meant to be for? Is like filling it with the things that bring you immense joy. And, you know, if they something that you get to do on a daily basis, well, then that's amazing. But there is this kind of fine line that we can walk. And even if I think about it through an astrological lens, when I think about our North Node, which defines like our purpose and our North Star, that isn't always our vocation. I know in numerology, like there's different numbers based on, whether it's your life path number or destiny. Like, again, that sometimes isn't essentially what you get paid to do. And I think we put so much pressure on ourselves today. And of course, societal expectations weigh down on us that we have to find our thing, figure it out, monetize it, become a success. And I think that we can find so much joy and fulfillment in sometimes the things that aren't actually what we get paid for.
Absolutely. And I just think if you can find a way in your life to do the things that you love and have enjoyment in that, you are already successful. Doesn't really matter how you make your money. I don't know, I'm just going on to an anti-capitalist rant here, but we all have to make a living. We all have bills to pay. We all have stuff that we need to do. We've all got responsibilities. But, you know, for me, doing numerology in the way that I've done it was always just about expressing something that I really wanted to express and finding a way to kind of weave my philosophy on life into things. And I think that it has ended up becoming a career, kind of not by my design, and that's been really great. But what I try to do with people when I'm doing charts and readings for them is speak to them on what their gifts are from what I can see from their chart and how they can work that into their life in a way that works for them and in a way that brings them fulfillment. And fulfillment to me is success. Money is kind of irrelevant to that. Yeah, we need it and we've got to make it happen. We've got to make some money happen. But like fulfillment is purpose to me. That's what it is. And even if you're working, a 9 to 5 in a job that you're not specifically in love with, to me, that doesn't matter. That doesn't make you not a successful person. As long as you give yourself the opportunity to express who you are in the world, that's what matters.
I think that's such a beautiful insight for all of us, and also a reminder too. I think even when we are fulfilled, we can sometimes deviate off track. So it's nice to remind ourselves of that as well.
Yeah, like give yourself what you need. Like let yourself be who you really want to be. And it doesn't have to be about your career. It can be completely separate from that, or it can be your career. It's totally up to you. But yeah, I think one of the reasons why this is on my mind so much is because we are in a year of Saturn, which is an 8 year. So there's practicality mixed in there, and there's a pragmatism mixed in there, and there's a need to find truth and be true and express that. And that's something that I'm really encouraging people with this year of like you bring yourself double happiness when you express who you are and you're true to yourself. And that can mean a different thing from one person to another, completely different thing. But with Saturn, it's kind of encouraging us to find who we are and be it and back yourself at being it in whatever way works for you, in whatever way is practical and doable and feasible in your life. So if you're somebody who's always wanted to work with animals, or you're somebody who's always wanted to write a book, or you're somebody who's into the spiritual things, work it into your life. If that's what gives you joy, work it into your life and make it work and do it in a way that isn't going to totally disrupt your life. And that's something that's been a theme that's coming up with a lot of people, of feeling stressed about, I want to do this thing, I want to do that thing, but I'm not sure how to make it happen. And Saturn, which is ruling the number 8. So just to be clear, because I get on a tangent and then I imagine that everybody knows what I'm talking about. 2024 is an 8 year. So 2 + 2 + 4 is 8. 8 is ruled by the planet Saturn. That's its affinity. So when you think about things like timelessness and the serious factor, practical matters, being ethical, being in integrity. The word that's been around for the last few years that's been used as a marketing buzzword so much is authenticity. And I feel like that word is so overused now and overcooked that it's kind of lost its meaning. But Saturn is authenticity. This is an encouragement to be true. And that I feel is such a great gift and such a great blessing. Saturn, as we all know, with these astrological associations that we have with Saturn, and this is something I really want to speak to you about this year. Everyone goes, oh, Saturn, karma, restriction, limitation, you know, and it's like that's a bad thing. And it's not a bad thing. A little bit of limitation is a good thing. And that's why I'm kind of speaking to, like, do what you want to do, but make it work, make it feasible, make it practical, because Saturn gives us some discipline and helps us to find our way. And it helps us to do what we need to do in order to make our life work. So this is structural stuff. This is foundational stuff. It's scheduling. It's the health of the body. It's the health of your mind. It's how much time do I have? Saturn is the Lord of time. How much time do I have? Okay, I work this amount of hours a week. I have this amount of free time. What am I going to do with my free time? And Saturn is saying, make it count. Make it count. Do what you love. Be what you love. Back yourself. Put the effort into it. Whether it's for a career purpose or it's just for joy, ideally, everything's just for joy, right? But that's not how life works. So Saturn's also telling us, like, be realistic, be real. After last year, we really need that. Last year was a 7-year, which is Neptune. And last year, I labeled last year the year of the guru. When I say guru, that's not a compliment. There is so much stuff out there where there's so many people out there with like a guru complex. And there's a lot of people being made to feel like they need to look up to somebody else and get their sense of direction and their sense of purpose. And, you know, I need someone to fix me. I need someone to show me the way. We don't need gurus. We need ourselves. And Saturn gives us the strength to back ourselves and look after ourselves and make our lives work for ourselves rather than outsourcing it. And with that 7 Neptune energy that we had last year, there's a lot of illusion around. And there's been a lot of uncertainty around. And so people have felt uncertain within themselves. And when you've got Neptune, you've also got all this stuff rising to the surface. This is the depths. This is the unconscious, the subconscious. There's been a huge focus in the last year of conversation around traumas. People have been confronted by things that they haven't looked at before, or that they know they need to look at, but they've been avoiding, or that they haven't previously seen that they're now seeing. And it's like been really in your face, which can cause a feeling of instability and uncertainty. Saturn is here to rescue us from that and ground us into ourselves again and into our own knowing and our own purpose of being and in who we are, and in being balanced with that. Where's your energy going? Energy management. What are you putting your energy into? You don't have to optimize every single second of every moment of every part of your day as well. Like, it's okay to have rest time. It's okay to do nothing. That also serves your greater purpose as well. But, you know, this thing of being able to balance ourselves is here. We've got a great opportunity to look at the structures, the routines, how we're living, and go, okay, that's not working. That's not working. That's working. How can I make all the pieces fit together in a way so that my life is not full of stress, so that I'm not burnt out, so that I'm in balance, so that I'm not being too harsh on myself, because Saturn can also be a little bit harsh. When that comes up, talk back to it, snap back into balance. I think Saturn is a great gift. I love Saturn. I'm
Me
really
too. Me too, with my 888 tattoo as my daily reminder, which was initially inspired by Jen because of our previous conversations. But it's interesting because when people ask me about my tattoo, they want to know the meaning behind it. And this actually leads me to my next question for you, because, 8 does represent infinite abundance, but I don't have 888 tattooed on me because I play in the realm of infinite abundance. I think we're abundant beings. We need to be open to receive. But for me, it's a daily reminder that through hard work,
Mm.
anything is possible. But that falls on me, right? That I'm the one that needs to show up for myself on a day-to-day basis. And it was interesting because as the year ticked over, I've actually seen a lot of posts, whether it's come through TikTok or through Instagram, not only on obviously Pluto moving into Aquarius, which is another huge topic, but also it being in a year 8 year this year. And I saw so many posts on it's a year 8 year infinite abundance. But knowing that 8 is associated with Saturn and we were going to have this conversation, I was thinking, I think Saturn's going to put us to work. What are your thoughts on that, Jen?
Oh gosh, yeah. So Saturn and 8 go together because yes, 8 is about material world as well. It's about creating in reality, not just in your head, not just with your thoughts, but actually creating in reality. And creating in reality, which is, we are here on planet Earth living these human lives. That's a reality. When you play and create in this space, you need to act. You need to put in the effort. You need to do the work to get the result. You don't just walk past the gym and get muscles, right? It's just not how it works. So Saturn gives us the discipline, invites us and asks us this question. Do you want this thing that you want? Do you really want this thing? Is this thing really right for you? Is this really aligned with your higher purpose and your truth? If you're going, yes, 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 tick, 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 great. Okay, what are you going to do to make it happen? In my opinion, and from what I've looked at and studied over the years in spirituality and philosophy, there is no gain without sacrifice. Even in the oldest traditions where people were seeking to bring about an outcome, they were literally sacrificing lives in order to bring about an outcome. Now, we don't cut the throats of goats anymore because that's not how we roll. And thank God for that, right? We've evolved beyond such a straightforward idea around manifestation. But the truth is that if you want something, you have to give something to get the thing that you want. You're not going to become a master of anything if you don't put in the hours and the effort. You might have the raw talent, and that's a great thing to start with, but you got to shape it. You could be a naturally great dancer, but you're not going to get up and do a ballet at the Royal Ballet Company because you have to train for that. And it's kind of like, that's the sacrifice. The sacrifice is your energy, your effort, your intention. And so Saturn brings this into a actual physical reality. It teaches us that if you want the thing, you have to work for it. There's a concept that I believe, and I massively apologize if I'm incorrect in this, but I believe that this is from one of the teachings of Judaism. I believe it's called the bread of shame. Eating the bread of shame means taking something that you haven't earned. So this is a really Saturn kind of concept to me. This is a really eight concept thing to me. If you want the abundance, if you want the bread, if you want the goodies, you got to put in the effort. You got to do the work. You got to earn it. And when you do earn it, it's such a beautiful feeling when it comes through. We are all in our lives working really hard. We're all really, really trying so hard to live a good life. And there's so much pressure on us coming from the outside, telling us that we need to be this, do this, have that, act like that, be productive, productive, productive. It's a lot of pressure, and there's a toxicity in that kind of mindset too. We don't want to be flogging ourselves and punishing ourselves in order to make something happen, but we do need to put in the effort. So if it takes a little bit longer and that's a more sustainable way of doing it and living your life, so you're not getting burnt out, you're not getting sick, you're not getting depressed and stressed and anxious all the time because you've got too much on your plate, take some time with it. Give yourself time. Yeah. We don't have to have instant.
What are you saying, Jenn? Instant gratification. We all want it.
We all want it, but it doesn't actually feel that good either.
No, if things come too easy, I've realized that in life, like the things that I remember so fondly and the moments I have like deep gratitude or pride over, always the things that I felt like I had to walk through fire to get there, or they were on the other side of a big rock bottom moment, the dark before the dawn. And yeah, they're the things that change us and help us to grow. And I think that's why I have such a, not just because I was born on a Saturday, which is ruled by Saturn, but I feel like I have such a huge Saturn influence for me in this lifetime. And so I have such a deep appreciation for the planet. And I know in one of our previous conversations too, I remember saying to you, I'd come off a huge Jupiter year, and I felt like my head was in the clouds. And it was actually really nice to move into a Saturn year. And look, I got my fair share of lessons last year. I'm not going to say it was easy whatsoever, but in retrospect now, it was definitely necessary because it allowed me to shift my focus, slow down, become more intentional. And I always say, like, Saturn's our greatest teacher. And by leaning into that, we just become different people. And I think that's something that we shouldn't take for granted.
100%. Saturn's greatest guidance that I feel that Saturn gives, because I used to resent, I've got a lot of Saturn in my numerology, and I've got some pretty hardcore Saturn in my astrology too. And Saturn's biggest guidance for me is be discerning, choose and choose wisely. So if there are things you want to do, and there's multiple things you want to do, choose the one that really speaks to you the most and put your energy and your effort into that. Be discerning. We can't do everything. There's only 24 hours in a day. We all have responsibilities. We all have life to live. We've got people in our lives. We've got stuff going on. So Saturn gives us that ability to be discerning and be choosy and be selective about what we're spending ourselves and our precious time on. And that is also such a great gift. You know, I really used to resent the Saturn and be like, bristling against it. But now I'm like, Saturn's actually so good. I'm really excited for this year. It's the most exciting year to come along in 8 years. But, you know, I really am, because I think it's going to be so good for people, because we're going to really be able to collectively and individually like kind of get down to brass tacks and get serious about ourselves and get serious about our lives and taking care of ourselves. Health is a big thing. Take care of yourself. Get your foundational stuff right before you leap into the next thing. Get your health right, get your finances right, get your home life right, get your relationships right, get your relationship with yourself right. Work on those basic foundational things, and everything else flows from that. That's how you create abundance. When you're in a good place, not just in yourself and in your head, but in your life, things are sorted. Your schedule is sorted. You're eating well. you're exercising, you've got structures set up and everything's working so that your life is in balance. And there's not too little of this and there's not too much of that. That's Saturn. And that's 8. You've got these two beautiful matching circles and they connect in the middle. Saturn is middle path. Go to the middle path. Don't be too much one way. Don't be too much another way. Find your center with everything. And that's the gift of this year. And it's so good for us because last year, energetically, very destabilizing. Very destabilizing. And the start of this year kind of felt like a wrapping it all up. So a lot of things have been coming up for people in the last month and they're like, what more of this? But it's like cleaning. It's getting clean. We're cleaning up all the debris from last year so we can move forward with intention and move forward with our energy and move forward in looking after ourselves. Before we take responsibility for anything else, we've got to have our situation sorted. And that's what Saturn gives us. It's such a great gift because that from that space, we can create so much for ourselves and really bring about all of the beautiful things in life that we are craving.
I love that perspective and everything that you've shared, and it really does set the scene and the stage for this year to come. And I even remember like our previous conversation at the beginning of last year when you spoke about the 7-year and you coined it the year of the guru, and I used that a lot and I referenced you because that was such a nice way to tie numerology into the work I do. But I really use that almost as a guide when I was like connecting online or the decisions that I made. You speak the same language as me. Saturn, I always say it helps you manage your time, energy, and potential, which is exactly what you're echoing to me. And I love that because you used another word that I think is just so pertinent for this year, which is all about being discerning and committing to the things that are important to you. But Jenn, I'm curious to know, because I know that you do personal readings for people too. If somebody's tuned into this episode and they've never had a numerology or a cosmic numerology reading done before, what can they expect and where can they find you? Because I'd imagine it'd be such a great way to set the tone for the year.
It is a good way to set the tone for the year. There's not much of it left. I generally do year aheads only in December and January. But if someone's really itching for a year ahead, just get in touch with me, DM me on Instagram and we'll sort something out. The best way to find readings and info and connect with like the daily, weekly, this, that, and the other stuff is at the Cosmic Numerologist. Outside of December, January, which is the year ahead kind of bonanza. Outside of that, most people do their complete chart. So it's kind of like an astrology chart. You'll get all your main important numbers and the planets that go with them. And there's a chart that goes with that and a reading that goes with that. And we usually talk about what's happening right now and what support on that sort of energetic level I can give in terms of whatever information comes through for that person on an intuitive and numerological side. So there's a few different things, and I'm actually adding a few new offerings this year.
Exciting. I love that. Obviously, I recommend Jenn's book to everybody that comes to me, even for astrology recommendations, because when you understand the planetary archetypes, you really start to form a strong bond with astrology anyway. And you have such a beautiful way of covering those off in your book. I always find, though, like reading a book is great because it gives you perspective, but there's nothing like having a conversation with someone, because then you can flip that script from a monologue to a dialogue where you actually get to get some real-time feedback with somebody. So if you are curious about numerology, whether it's figuring out like your life path number or even what needs to be your focus for right now, then please, I recommend you getting in touch with Jenn, and I will ensure that all of her information is linked in the show notes below.
Thank you so much.